Welcome to the Rockin' Rich Lynch on the Radio Show. I'm your host, Rockin' Rich Lynch, inviting you to join me as we discover great new music by bands and artists from around the world. With interviews, music news and reviews, great prizes, and a whole lot more. Visit us online today at soundpress.net for great music promotion and publicity. Hi, this is Rockin' Rich Lynch, and you're listening to the very best of Rockin' Rich Lynch on the radio. We recently moved our operations from the New York, New Jersey market to Nashville, Tennessee, and we are now looking for a production and broadcast partner in the region to take the radio show to new heights. If you're a band, musician, solo act, or represent a musical project in any genre, please visit soundpress.net and our new site, musiccitynashville.net, to learn how we can help get your message to the world. Now, please enjoy this great interview from our archives. Everybody, welcome to the show today. I have a guest who's very important in the world of rock and roll and to what I turned out to be. He is currently on the road with Yes as the keyboardist. He's a member of Asia, solo act in his own right, Mr. Jeff Downes, icon himself. Jeff, welcome to the program.
Thank you. That's one hell of a build-up you gave me there.
Well, you know, as it turns out, Jeff, let me tell you a little bit about my demographic. In August of 1981, I was 15 years old.
Right.
And I spent the better part of the next decade, for better or worse, glued to music television, otherwise known as MTV.
There you go. It's not far off now, the anniversary, is it?
Right. And, you know, August 1st of 2011, it'll be the 30th anniversary of the kickoff of music television. Yep. Your band, the Buggles, had the honor of being the first act ever played there, and you know that you could never get away from that fact. You guys were the first band played on music television, and that station was so revolutionary in a lot of ways.
Oh, it was, yeah. I think if you look at it, it's kind of etched in stone. That those opening bars of Video Kill the Radio Star launched a whole nation of, a whole style of television, I suppose, in a way. No one has really seen anything like it before. So it was, they're very honoured, that they actually chose it. It was something that was actually something that I found out a few months later. It wasn't even because I don't think anyone knew how successful MTV was going to grip, and how it was going to grip the nation or the youth of the nation at the time. But so yeah, it's a nice bit of trivia that I'm involved with, and I'm quite proud of it, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing, Jeff. In like I said at the intro and the build up, as far as myself, for the better part of 10 years, I was glued to watching MTV and music television. But the thing is there doesn't. I mean, we've gotten to this point. MTV only had its run for 10 years, but so for me, I said, for better or worse, this is what happened. But I ended up, getting really into music, and I ended up talking to many of my personal heroes, like yourself, who's on the phone today. And we've had conversations about what the meaning of the times were, what the meaning of MTV was. And for you, I mean, you're a great beneficiary of that medium, because not only the Buggles, Yes, and for your work on the drama album and everything you did with Asia, which I want to talk about. I want to get to all of this, but for a period of time, MTV was able to put eyeballs onto everybody. Was almost indoctrinated into a period of time, and
that's right. I think Asia benefited enormously, because it was the year later that we it was about 7 or 8 months later that we brought out our first album, and it was almost sort of synonymous with MTV, really. Its release, Heat at the Moment, Only Time Will Tell, were maximum rotation on MTV, and of course we did the special in '83 with MTV. But it was all, we were almost sort of bedfellows, we were enmeshed in that whole MTV thing that was building. And what I couldn't believe was how quickly it ignited as a channel, because it did start off fairly low key. I think it was only in certain parts of the States that it was actually, you know, it wasn't coast to coast. You know, it was only a lot of the major cities had it, but on cable. But you know, it wasn't sort of a national network until people realised that all of a sudden this is what everybody wants to be watching.
And you know, for you, in a lot of ways, it's like at one point in time we had the Concorde. We could get across the Atlantic in 3.5 hours. We don't have that anymore. We don't have the MTV anymore that had the ability to break all those artists in such a big way that, you know, 30 years later, you guys are all still be able to go out on the road and do your thing. It doesn't seem like there's a thing like that anymore.
No, I agree. I think the thing is that, I mean, you look at VH1, but that's more sort of retrospective, you know, and nostalgic. You know, they just basically play the stuff that MTV played 20, 30 years ago. So I think that that there isn't really that sort of groundbreaking out of that anymore. And I think that, you know, you look at MTV now, it's nothing. It doesn't have a lot to do with music. You know, their big show is Jersey Shore. You know, I mean. It's not about music, and I think the reason why, you know, myself and a lot of my colleagues are still around today and still, you know, out there doing it is because we always felt that, you know, we were musicians, we weren't actors. You know, we plied our trade on guitars and keyboards and drums and things like that. You know, and I think that that's one of the main reasons why we're still around today. And you know, a lot of those people that were only video stars have kind of you know, melted away into the distance.
Exactly, Jeff. Let me back up again and tell everybody we are talking to Jeff Downes, the legendary singer, songwriter, keyboard player for Asia. He's now currently in his second run with the band Yes, which we're going to talk about a little bit. Let me give out the websites. They are jeffdownes.com, originalasia.com, and yesworld.com. You can get the full story of Jeff Downes and what he's currently up to if you go over and visit those sites. Jeff, for you, there was no running away from the fact that you were going to be a keyboard player. That ran in your genes and ran in your blood, right?
Absolutely, yeah. My father was a church organist, and my mother and my sister all played piano, so it was always around me, you know, and the John Broadwood piano upright, you know, in the lounge was always being played by somebody. So I did have you know, it was sort of predestined really that I would get into playing keyboards at some level. But I mean, I'm obviously very privileged in the fact that I actually managed to, you know, and have continued to make a living out of something that is a very real passion to me. I think that's something that's really helped me along the way, is that you know, I still really love it. You know, it's a passion to me. I can sit down and go and play a piano at home, you know, and it still feels good to me. You know, it doesn't feel like, oh, well, I should be doing something else. You know, it's almost completely enmeshed in my personality.
Did you always enjoy it, or when you were young and starting out, was there ever a period when you maybe would have rebelled against it?
You know, sometimes it was tough. You know, when I was learning classical organ, that was, you know, I thought, well, you know, this is, I don't think I'm ever going to be doing this as a living, you know. But I think when I went to music college, and I went to a very, very open-minded music college where we had a lot of different types of music we were exposed to. It wasn't sort of very starchy classical music stuff. It was pretty groundbreaking college at the time, because we were studying people like Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea, and you know, a lot of different types of music as well as classical. So that really made me feel good that you know, the road that I was setting on was probably something that I was hopefully going to be successful in.
Hey, Jeff, many of the artists that I've talked to over the years, I mean, you being from the United Kingdom, coming of age in the early 60s, were the Beatles as influential to you as they've been to a lot of other people?
Yeah, I think you know, you can't deny that the Beatles have always you know, been ahead of they were always ahead of the game. You know, their albums that they made were, you know, even though under the auspice of George Martin, I think that he started introducing orchestral instruments into pop records. You know, I think that you know, like the cello lines in Iron and Rigby, you know, all those kind of things. The Beatles, you couldn't, you know, they'd always come up with something different, and I think that was what made them so iconic and so sort of buried in the psyche of the world population. Really, you know, you can't really go very far without hearing a Beatles song or a connected Beatles song. So yeah, I mean, obviously, musically, I wouldn't say that I was specifically influenced by them in terms of being a keyboard player, but certainly as a songwriter, I don't think anybody in the world who writes songs would be able to say that, you know, there's some aspect of the Beatles' music that hasn't influenced them somewhere along the line.
Right. I mean, a lot of the people, especially, you know, the American artists who've gone on to achieve a lot of acclaim, will say that, you know, when they saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, that's when they knew at that moment that they wanted a career in music in a time when rock and roll was really in just its nascent moment.
Well, that's it. I think it inspired a lot of people to see that that's what you could do. You know, that it's not just about being in a pop band and then off you go. This was something where people can develop music and they could, you know, it was just a starting point. I think that whole Ed Sullivan thing. I think that's what people realised in America, that you know, these four guys from Liverpool, you know, were capable of doing anything. You know, you could take on America, and these four guys from Liverpool turn up, and all of a sudden it's Beatlemania and you know, incredible stuff. And if you think about all the individual writers, even including Ringo Starr, you know, they've written some, you know, unbelievably iconic songs and in different styles and in different genres. So, you know, you can't deny that the Beatles have got a massive you know, influence on a lot of people in the music business.
And of course, of a lot of other English lads, musicians who were influenced by the Beatles were the band Yes themselves. Jeff, you had a run in Yes in the 1980s with the drama album, but Yes is back right now in 2011 with their first album in a decade called Fly From Here. And Jeff, I gotta say, I love the record. I mean, I've listened to it so many times. There's just so many textures and the mood and the melodies of the album. You guys did a really phenomenal job putting this thing together.
Yeah, I think that's very kind of you. I think we're pretty proud of it, to be honest. I mean, it was, as you say, I think some of the textures are subtle, so when people listen to it again, you know, they'll pick different things out. And I have to say that the Trevor's production is pretty sensational. You know, I think that what tells me is that having been working with Trevor on various other projects over the last few years, and we kind of reunited a few years ago, and he was so inspirational. You know, it's really kicked me. I suppose it's sort of given me a kick out the backside and said, you know, this is what you're capable of, and so in that respect, he's very, very inspirational. He's very good at getting the best out of people, and so having said that, I think it's something that you know, that's been manifested on the new album. I think that it shows that Yes has still got, you know, a lot to offer in this world, and you know, I think funny enough, it's one of the, I think that Steve or Chris told me and said that it's the first time that all the members of Yes have been satisfied with the final results.
Well, that's a beautiful thing, because the album really is so good, and in a way it's a marquee moment for the music industry in a lot of ways, because not only for the world of prog rock, because Yes also has its feet firmly implanted in the world of commercial music, but yeah, it's generating a lot of interest, and a lot of people are talking about this album. And you know, at a time when the music industry and the sales portion of it is waning, it's really good to see like a classic band like yourself really generating so much impact with the power of a release that, and a release that's somewhat controversial in a lot of ways, because of course John Anderson's no longer in the band.
Yeah, and I think that's you know, I think you'll always get people that will you know, not consider the band to be the band unless John Anderson's in it, or Rick Wakeman, or it's not the classic lineup or whatever. But you know, I think that you know, it is what it is, and Benoit as the vocalist has been for 3 years now. So I think from that standpoint, I think it's great that he's actually had the opportunity to do an album and do some Yes material that is, he could actually call his own, rather than singing John Anderson songs or even Trevor Horn songs all night. He's got an opportunity now where he's got his own reference point as an album, and I think that's very important for him, and I think it shows that the guys have got a lot of confidence in him as a vocalist, and he's doing a great job, and so I think it's business as usual really at Yes Central. I think that it's nice that we've had the opportunity to do another album, and I think already we're talking about maybe going in, at some stage and writing some stuff and preparing another album along the way.
Yeah, love to see that. Hopefully it's not 10 years between albums.
Well,
this time
yeah,
around.
I mean, it probably won't be next year because I think that we've got quite a lot of we've got a very busy schedule next year with Asia coming up towards the end of the year. So I think that because we've got our 30th anniversary of Asia, so I think that will sort of take over at that stage. But I think there's always the possibility of another Yes album fairly after that.
Beautiful. Well, let me again reset the conversation here. We're talking with Geoff Downes, the current keyboardist. He's vocalist and songwriter in the band Yes. Yes is out right now with their first album in a decade called Fly From Here. You can get all the information you need at yesworld.com. Geoff is currently out on the road with Yes and Styx doing a summer run of dates. And Geoff, I got to say, I mean, I've been following along on a lot of the forums and message boards, but the last few weeks for me, I feel like I know you a little bit better, or I've gained a little more insight because you've been managing. You got to give credit to the band, Yes, because it's almost like they put you out there. They've given you the responsibility of maintaining the tour blog, and it's been hilarious, Geoff. It's been informative. It's been
yeah. I've been trying to keep it light. The thing is that I think people appreciate the fact that that I've actually been giving a kind of fly on the wall account as the tour has gone on, and it's I think it's something that people look forward to. People look forward to reading it and making comments on it. Not that they're going to make all good comments. Some people object to certain things, but I think all round it's something that is a good thing, and I think it keeps people in touch with the band, and so I'm quite happy to do it.
Well, I mean, you're certainly supporting the truth of the matter that life on the road for a rock star or a rock and roller or a musician such as yourself isn't always as glamorous as it seems.
No, and I think that people don't really, from the outside, you don't really have much idea, and I think it's quite interesting. If I was on the other side, I'd say that, this is quite interesting because I'm seeing something that, I didn't think those kind of things went on, and so it's not what people perceive from the outside for sure. There's a lot of it is really like hard work. It's very tiring. There's a lot of travelling. The whole thing is geared towards a show each day. So, but obviously prior to that, there's a lot of preparation goes into it.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you have a high coming off the shows, but all the work for 90 minutes, 80 minutes, perhaps on stage. Is there a moment afterwards where you come down a little bit and then you realize you got to do it all over again?
Yeah, but it is a big buzz. I mean, there's no doubt about it. When you see the people out there and you see how much they're smiling at you and they're appreciating it, it's the biggest buzz. It's the biggest drug in the world. I mean, it's just a hell of a buzz. And I think that you do get up on a high. When you played and the audience is ringing in your ears, and they're all on their feet and they're doing it, all that. It's nice to be able to touch people like that, and I think that particularly the music of Yes is very uplifting for a lot of people. So when people appreciate it like that, it is very rewarding.
Hey, Geoff, let me give you my little history with Asia and Yes. Since the reunion of Asia, I've seen you guys 3 times, and I've seen the reformed Yes 3 times. I never got to see Yes, any of the classic lineup or the earlier incarnations, but with the current grouping with Benoit, David on vocals, I've seen that grouping 3 times, and it's kind of interesting because they say there's no such thing as bad press or bad publicity, but notoriously or not, the first couple of gigs on this show might have come off to third parties and online reviewers a little rocky. And along the way in your blog, even though you may have lashed out a little bit at people who might have been critical of the early shows, you did actually admit that, maybe this version of Yes on this tour got off a little unprepared. And it's, it's understandable too, because you're touring with Asia, you're doing that, and then you come right out and you have to get into the Yes thing, and you guys aren't always together, always rehearsing. So of course you might understand how it got off to a little rocky start, but you can understand what the fans have a much bigger forum nowadays than they ever had.
I know, because you everything is under massive scrutiny. You can't even you can't walk down the street without someone without someone knowing where you are. It's that's the way it is. So yeah, I mean, anything you do in the public eye, you're going to get scrutinised for because the medium of the internet and everything like that, word travels instantly, and visuals and all sorts of things. And yeah, I mean, I admit, it wasn't as good as it could or should have been, but I think now, we've really started to get into gear, and I think the band is sounding great, and I don't think that. I mean, people that came to those first couple of shows might feel in some way shortchanged, but it's what it is. I mean, we can't change that. The fact was that I think we finished the Asia tour a week before the Yes tour started, so we were short on preparation times, no doubt about it. But I think it's locked together much quicker than I think that. Than maybe one could have anticipated.
Right, Jeff, and of course Chris Squire in an interview used the term that the band was going to be woodshedding a little bit, which means getting your act together in this round of dates. And that to me, I can give you guys a pass, and I can understand that. I just hope that all 4 of you will move forward and take this opportunity to really gel together and just become the best version of Yes that you guys can absolutely be. And of course you understand that Yes were such high quality musicians, and the fans that they attracted loved.
And the fans, some of the fans are completely intolerant, which is okay. I mean, I can understand that because they've followed the band for 40 years, and some of them have followed 40 years, and they're absolutely passionate about it. So I can understand that as well, but I think people also need to realise that this is a different lineup. This is a new lineup of Yes, and so therefore I think that we should take it on what it is, on face value, and enjoy it. I think that certainly I think we've made a great album. I think that we've made a very solid Yes album, and I think that people will enjoy coming to see that for hopefully many years to come.
Right. Well, let me ask you, because I did say I have been a supporter of this lineup. I really was impressed with the work of Benoit David as vocalist. The first couple of times I saw him, it did seem like he was having a little trouble early on reaching some of the notes on this tour. And can you was that I didn't see that acknowledged anywhere? Was Benoit fighting something, or I and other reports have said that
he had a little bit. He did have a little bit of a throat problem, which wasn't helped by the fact that we were so tight on rehearsal into the tour. I think that we went straight in, so there wasn't a lot of preparation time for me, but also from his standpoint, he did have a little problem with some of his throat issues. So, but they thankfully have started to they've virtually dissipated now. So he's actually feeling a lot better about it, and I think that people who've been in the last few shows have concurred that he's been absolutely spot on. So I think that these things happen to vocalists. I mean, it happened to John Wetton sometimes. He's not. Sometimes you get a frog in the throat, and you're not going to be able to deliver to, it's not like an instrument, it's not like a keyboard that you can go and press a note and it plays, the vocal, it's a very psychological thing as well, and it's a very human thing, it's not like a normal instrument that you can tune up and and just put out there. You know, it's a whole different thing. So, you know. But I mean, from my standpoint, I've got Benoit dialed in on my in-ear monitoring all night, and he, you know, I think he sounds absolutely fabulous. You know, I think he's a great vocalist and a great addition to the band.
Right. Well, in the 3 times that I've seen Yes on the road, and we've seen some other Yes-related side projects, we generally ask people, you know, what's your impression of the new lineup? And everybody's been so supportive. They've been they've been very supportive of Benoit's work. And like I said, the first couple of times we saw him in 08 and 09, he was so spot on and very, very good. And that's why when we saw him in New Jersey, we're like, we wonder what's going on here. But it's really good to hear him getting back together, because I don't want to, you know, put any type of negative spin on this at all. I mean, the new album is just so damn good. And people were just saying, you know, there's just like there was a little conflict with the early reports of the shows. But the new reports of the shows, like you just said, the things are, you guys are gelling. You're finding that seam that you've talked about on your blog, Jeff.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think that's important. I think that you know, you've got to realise that you know, it's not always going to be you know, it's not always going to be exactly the same every night. I mean, you know, you look at a band like Styx, who've got it down to a fine art, where they turn, you know, they've been doing that show for 15 years now, you know, with the same lineup, and it's been you know, it's like clockwork.
Right.
But we've been, you know, it's a different kind of beast, really. And I think that, you know, when you know, they've got like 6 vocalists that they can turn on at any given time, and I think that you know, if one of them feels a bit under the weather, then they can, you know, they switch vocals and they get one of the other guys to cover it for them. But you know, we haven't really got that luxury, and I think that's all power to Benoit, that he stands up and he sings and he does his best every night, and I think that's very important to me.
Well, that's another thing. In your blogs, you have been mentioning how impressed you've been night after night of Styx, and a lot of the fans have been saying the same things. As much as you've been impressed by Styx, do you find any inspiration in what they're putting down every night?
I'm not saying that I find it inspirational, because it wasn't something that you know, it wasn't a band that I really followed that closely. But
well, how about the way they go about their business, and just, they seem to be, like you said, like they seem to be like totally into the health thing, the physical activities. They're taking.
Oh yeah, no, there's absolutely nothing, no flies on them at all. You know, they're a great band. The audience love them. You know, they can milk the audience. They know how to do that. It's just extremely professional, and actually I've been having some quite long chats with the keyboard player, Lawrence Gowan, and he's a really great bloke. You know, he's a really nice fellow, and he's very tuned into my career, you know, and the stuff I've done, and you know, he's very interested in how video killed how the piano part and video killed the radio star and all that kind of thing. So they're a very nice bunch of guys, and you know, I take my hat off to them. They've got it down to a fine art.
Hey, Jeff, let me ask you, as a fan, I mean, I know myself, I know a lot of fans, especially people who, you know, watched for so long, you know, in addition to idolizing our rock stars and the bands that we, you know, raise to a high level, we also tend to idealize your situation. And as being in a band, you know, maybe from the outside, you know, we envision that, you know, you guys are all together all the time, you'd go to war together, you're the best buddies, but being in a band, it's more like you have business partners, right? It's not like you're hanging out all the time.
Funny enough, it's not really like that. You know, it's actually, you know, it really is like a bunch of mates that meet up once in a while. It's like you know, a tour is like a kind of, it's like an old mates reunion. You know, you get together and you know, and it's like you never went away. You know, it's not like it's, oh yeah, well, I'm a business guy, you know, and I'm doing this for the money, and this is the guy that I'm working with at the moment. It's really not like that at all. I mean, we just laugh about stuff and talk about stuff, and then you know, if a tour finishes, we probably go our separate ways, and then not really have a great deal of communication during that period of time. Then you get back together again, and it's like a bunch of mates again, and that's. You know, people might not actually understand how that works, but it's just like a kind of reunion every time you go on tour. So it's not, the money's not the thing that binds people in the business side of things. I think that people didn't, you don't get into the game of being a musician for the money, because otherwise, you probably wouldn't have done it in the first place.
Right. Well, that's kind of, I don't know if you, when you were growing up and you had rock bands, and from the outside, you get the album, you see everybody grouped together. It's all packaging and marketing in a lot of ways. It's not like you guys are the bestest buddies all the time, but you're working. It's more, you more have a working relationship than a familial or.
Yeah. I mean, it is a working relationship. There's no doubt about that. But off the side of on the side of that, there is a lot of camaraderie, and there's some very funny moments. It can be quite entertaining. As I've tried to explain a few things in my blog, that there are funny moments that bind you in and bind you together, and it makes it all worthwhile somehow.
Now, Jeff, this blog that you're currently doing with Styx, you've done in the past from other stints on the road?
Well, the blog?
Yes.
Yeah. I've done it before on the road, but I think this one was a bit more in depth. I think that I thought I'd give people, because I know obviously that there are probably a lot more Yes fans than out there than there are Asia fans, but having said that, it's something that I like to put forward and keep people entertained, I suppose.
Maybe you could add author to your title down the road and release the thing.
Yeah.
Hey, how about going as Jeffrey Downes for the New Dance Orchestra? Is that you're using your full surname there? Is that to set yourself aside from the work you've done in Asia?
I think it is. I think it's a differentiation. I think that not that I'm trying to reinvent myself or become a split personality, but no, I think it's something that I like to keep as it's a hobby more than anything else. I think that I've had a few solo albums out over the years, and it's a hobbyist thing really. It's something that I can do without any interference from anybody, and I'm not really writing to a brief either, so it enables me to be able to to really just do whatever I want, and I think that's a nice release for me as well. But it does up the workload, and as you can imagine, right now I've got plenty to be getting on with.
Exactly. I did hear from Vox Humana the version of Video Killed the Radio Star today, and that was simply stirring, Jeff. That was beautiful. It was and that piece of work, the piano part in there, always touched me. But stripped down like that was just an amazing version. People should check that out.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was with Glenn Hughes. I think that I mean it's an interesting approach, and what I want to get across to a lot of people is that some of these songs, when you strip them down and they just with vocal and piano or something like that, they're still very meaningful pieces of music. You don't need the monstrous production on there to show actually how good the song is. Well,
JeffDownes.com, OriginalAsia.com, and YesWorld.com are the websites. Jeff Downe, keyboarder, singer, songwriter from the band Yes, is with us right now on the phone. Jeff, I did see that the Buggles got together for their first ever concert, because back in the day you guys were just a recording outfit, then you got incorporated into Yes, and then Asia started. You guys never toured. Is that something that, how'd that go, and is that something that you would consider possibly getting together with Trevor down the road and doing a few more dates?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, me and Trevor are always talking,
So I was just asking you about you and Trevor Horn and the Buggles. Do you think maybe that you do something else in the future with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we've discussed that. I mean, we've done a few shows fairly recently as the Buggles, and it's been a lot of fun. I think that for Trevor, it's a real buzz because he gets a chance to get out of the studio, and one thing you can never take away from anybody if they're a musician. I mean, he obviously ended up as a producer, but essentially he was a musician, a very good bass player actually, it has to be said. So I think that there will be more Buggles stuff. I don't think it's over yet. I don't think the Buggles story is yet finished.
Okay, Jeff, let me just ask you a couple questions about Asia, because as you said, next year the 30th anniversary is coming up, and I got to say, like, I really got to give you guys kudos, because, you know, there was the original Asia, you three guys. You basically had less than a 2-year run as the original band, and then a revolving door of musicians who were in the band Asia happened. But you took 25 years off, 25 full years from the original band, re-got that together in 2007, and you've been on the road ever since. And I really think a lot of that has to do with the, well, first of all, people missed you. People never got to see you back in the day, and the landscape has changed. I mean, there's all these theaters and places that you guys can play that you're just taking a major advantage of, and you've gone right into where there's a need. You guys have filled it with the band Asia.
Yeah, I think that you're right in saying that people didn't get a chance to see us first time out, and so when they heard that we were reforming with the original lineup, I think that went down very well with a lot of people, and it's been a lot of fun. I mean, Asia, you know, is very close to my heart, as you know, because you know I've been a contributing factor for you know from the beginning, and I think that you know I've always had a very, very good relationship with John Wetton. You know, our writing relationship goes beyond just Asia. You know, we've written for all sorts of different things, and you know, it's a very inspirational partnership. And so, when we got the opportunity to get back together again, I think in 2006, actually it was. It's been great, you know, and we've had a really good 5-year run. You know, we've toured the world on numerous occasions. We've released a couple of studio albums, you know, a lot of live albums. So it's actually been extremely great. You know, I think you know I can't think of a better term. I think it's been great, and I see that we'll continue and we'll build on that.
What specifically, do you have any specific plans for the 30th anniversary?
Yeah, I think we're looking at doing a tour. I think that we're looking at putting out the original album with a sort of box set of outtakes and you know, interesting bits of memorabilia. I think that's going to come out pretty much in the middle of next year, and you know, there's a lot of interest. There's a lot of interest in Asia as well. I think that. It's kind of bizarre that both me and Steve are involved in it, and also involved in Yes. But you know, I think the two things can you know can live side by side quite amicably. I don't think there's any sort of clash of you know conflict or anything like that, because I think that you know we said that when I was asked to join Yes, I think that we said, well, we'll finish this Asia tour off, and then we'll focus on the Yes stuff coming up, and so you know I think it's interesting. I mean, they are very different bands, they're a very different concept, but having said that, I think that they can, you know, it can all work together, and we're looking forward to going out with Asia, you know, towards the end of next year on the 30th anniversary tour.
Well, excellent, Jeff. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. And, of course, there is a segment of Asia fans who like the work that you did in the 90s, too. And I got to say, a lot of that music was equally as compelling. And, you know, I hope you're as proud of that period of time as you are. You know, do you cherish all the work that you've done in your career?
Yeah, I don't think you can turn your back on it and say, well, you know, I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have done this. You know, I think that, you know, it gets logged and it gets in the past, and as long as people appreciate it and people enjoy it, then I've got no extra grind with anything. You know, I think that it's a privilege to be able to continue to make music and you know, enjoy what I'm doing, and as long as that's the case, you know, I'm going to be around for as long as possible.
Well, Jeff, I know you're planning on being on the road with Yes in the fall, later in the fall and early winter. What's the immediate plans for Yes following your summer tour?
Well, I think we're looking at maybe doing something in September, but it's getting a bit late now, so I'm not sure that's going to happen. At the moment, it's in abeyance, but what I do know is that the European tour is starting at the beginning of November, and I think it's now going to be Portugal, and then going all the way around Europe, UK, and really, you're literally all over the place. So, you know, that's something to look forward to. And the fact is that we'll be able to be playing the whole album at that stage, so, or certainly a good portion of the new album.
Well, cool, Jeff. That's something we'll look forward to. I don't know if I can get over to Europe. I hope you guys come back in the fall.
Yeah, I was hoping that we might get some dates in September in North America, but you know, as I say, it's not come through yet. So I'm just hoping that that's going to happen.
Okay, man. Keep mining that musical gold and keep looking for that seam, okay? Because I know you guys are going to hit upon it and be the best rock and roll band that you guys can be. I love Yes. Jeff Downes, so thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of my life for these past 30 years, and good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the Rockin' Rich Lynch on the Radio Show, part of the SoundPress.net radio network. Remember, if you're a band or artist looking for promotion, or if you'd like to sponsor this show or add this program to your station, please get in touch with us today at SoundPress.net.